Hey guys, it's Gav here, and I just want to lay something on you real fast for you to kind of challenge yourself and share with your friends, and really to think about, to get outside the party and faction paradigm and all the narratives and propaganda we're being fed, and actually look at history, look at the facts. I want you to think about immigration. Think about yourself immigrating to another country. Think about what real safety is and how everything that our government tells us is to make us safer is destroying our liberty and our country and our safety. Here's the thing. And I want you to think about this. Set aside the factions, set aside the fear propaganda narratives from both parties, set aside the fact that we know, right? We know that illegal socialist welfare programs that our government promotes are not lawful. We're not disputing that. Think about this. When you understand that in real law, a crime requires a victim. When you understand, let me repeat that, when you understand that in actual law, under the Constitution, under moral law, under God's law, under liberty, when you understand that law, for there to be a crime, there must be a victim, the idea of an illegal immigrant becomes utterly absurd propaganda. That's all it is, okay? That's why the Founding Fathers didn't even consider the concept of an illegal immigrant. And yes, I've studied it, and you can too. You can go to the first Congress. You can see the only restrictions made or even allowed for the government to be, in federal government to be involved in particular, were on citizenship. The way that they intended to protect the country was by ensuring that people couldn't usurp our liberties by becoming politicians and immediately starting to vote, right? There was going to be a few years before you could become a citizen, after which you could become a citizen and you could vote, because that was a privilege of being in the country. So all the people that are gonna get on here and troll, right? They're gonna call me a libtard because I'm speaking of American history. I'm speaking of our founding fathers. I'm speaking of the Constitution. The people that are filled with hate for our neighbors, even as our neighbors reach out to try and help us in times of need. The people that are ignorant of law and justice and do not love their neighbor and instead fall for the lies of their faction and their party because they keep us divided against each other. Those people are going to hate what I'm saying. They're going to make all these nonsensical arguments that have no basis on the reality of history or the fact that it is impossible for you to be a criminal by simply treading across a line. It didn't mean, the fact that there was no such thing as an illegal immigrant didn't mean our founding fathers didn't value our borders or that they didn't protect them. They simply didn't pretend that making up a bunch of insane laws, that harassing and abusing and harrying the immigrant coming in here to work and to profit, they didn't pretend that that was liberty, justice, or security, or that had anything to do with protecting our borders, because that's not border protection, it's not border security, and that's proven by the fact that our government terrorizes us, our government brings in whatever terrorists they want to fit their narrative, and the border is in complete shambles. Go back in history, you'll find that even 30 years ago, all these border narratives really didn't even exist. Go back before the Civil War, there was no such thing as having to get permission to immigrate. But realistically, all this recent border stuff, all the fear and lies and propaganda, the idea that we promote now, this came from the drug war. That's when it really was pushed forward, but it started creeping in slowly after the Civil War. That's the facts, that's history. If you believe in law, you understand that for there to be a crime, there must be a victim. And there cannot be a victim by you simply walking across the line. So I told that to somebody today. We were discussing it and trying to reason it out, and I said, there can't be a crime in that because there's no victim. And he said, well, not yet. And I said, well, you can't punish somebody for a crime they haven't committed. It's all false narratives. It's all lies to keep us brother against brother and at each other's throats when we should be loving our neighbor and using God's standard of loving our neighbor. Doesn't mean we don't value our border, doesn't mean we don't value our culture, and it doesn't mean we're not protecting it. It means that those who are perpetrating the border lie do not defend the law, do not understand it, and the fact is, it's a fraud. It's a fraud. No one's trespassing when they tread across the open land and cross the highway line that says from this country to that country. And if you support that, if you believe those people should be abused and imprisoned and harassed, you don't support the Constitution because it's clear, you don't support our founding fathers, and you don't support the principle of liberty and justice for all. So call names, get angry, but challenge yourselves and think about this in reality. It was a struggle for me to come to this point too, because we've been fed so much propaganda. But once you get past that and look at reality, then you open your eyes and you stand up for liberty. You guys take care.